Hello, everybody. I'm leaving it in. I'm just going to do this, and it's just going to be a big old blank of you going. Anyway,
Josh has told me off for swearing, and thus I decided that I would not be told off.
I've not told you off for swearing. I just told you how many times I had to bleep out swear words within the first 5 minutes of the last video that I edited.
I have been reliably informed that I swear way too much, so here we go.
There we go. Anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to Roll Together RPG and to What the Heck Does That Card Do? This is our little series where we take legendary creatures, legendary things that can be your commander, and we mention some cards that you might want to put into your deck. Some of them might be more commonly known cards to go in the deck. Some of them are probably going to be oddballs, especially if it's Chris that's involved with those cards. They will be oddballs.
Listen, that's the hope.
That's the hope anyway, yes. My name is Josh. I will be one of your hosts for this evening. And as the aforementioned, Chris is below me on the recording, but next to me in the actual overlay.
Hello. Chris, I use they, them pronouns. I'll be talking to you about random-ass weirdo cards. Less so this time. This one feels like some of them are still weird, but they're less like super weird. I haven't got any really old ones. I think that's the way I'm putting it.
That's fair. Today we are talking about the new Avatar the Last Airbender set, and we have picked two commanders from that set to talk to you about. And I'm looking forward to this set. Both the two decks that we're going to talk about in this recording. I'm actually making both of the decks, so this is going to be very informative for me, seeing what cards Chris suggests. I'll be like, let's take this idea.
Building my own death. It is happening live on camera. You're seeing it here first.
Yes, But the first one that we are going to speak about is everybody's favorite uncle, Iroh, Grand Lotus. Iroh he costs red, blue, green, and 3 for a 5/5 human noble ally. He has firebending 2. So firebending, for anybody who doesn't know, when you attack with him, he will generate 2 red mana that will last until the end of the combat phase. During your turn, the rest of his ability is during your turn, each non-lesson instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. Flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost. He also has during your turn, each lesson card in your graveyard has flashback 1. So he's 100% a spellslinger deck.
Yeah, I think it's probably worth mentioning early on because it's not always obvious. Flashback also is a keyworded ability that means you can cast it from your graveyard for its flashback cost, after which you exile it. You can't keep cycling the same card out of your graveyard forever.
Yes, it's probably a good thing to
this deck. Yeah.
Yeah, probably a good thing to note that down. Yeah, this is a very cool commander in some very cool colors for spell slinging. Blue and red are famous spell slinging colors anyway. Adding a bit of green in there is really interesting for me. So.
Yeah, I had I want to say Calamax. It was a Calamax deck, which was a blue, green, red Spellslinger deck. A while ago that I took apart to make other Spellslinger decks, and adding green in's crazy because Spellslinger decks, what they want to do is copy spells. They want to lots and lots of instants and sorceries flying around is the idea. And if some of those happen to be ramp, it just means you've got so much more ammo to keep playing. And green instant sorceries tend to be ramp spells, or they tend to be things that beef up your person attacking. And Iroh is a 5/5, so this could even be a commander damage deck. Not even thought about that.
Yeah, it could be sort of like a mini spell-slinging Voltron style deck, because not only do you have the big buff spells that are in green, like sorceries that give your creatures 10/10 until end of turn, but you also have the ability to give them unblockable with blue.
Yeah. Like Calamax gave itself 1/1 counters whenever you copied instant or sorceries. I think it's been years since I played the deck, so yeah, like it turned into a Voltron beat stick very quickly, which is fine. But my suggestions for Iroh certainly take you in much more of a classic spell stringing direction or filling out your board a bit more. Josh, you want me to dive into cards, or have you got a first one you want to dive it on?
My one's was gonna be a very basic sort of suggestion for a card. So
let's start there. If it's important to start with the basics, eat your veggies. So What is your veggie?
So one of the things with Iroh as a deck is that key text at the bottom for his lessons. During your turn, each lesson card in your graveyard has flashback 1. Now, the Avatar the Last Airbender set introduces quite a lot of new lessons to the sort of mix. There wasn't much in the pool beforehand. A lot of the previous lesson cards came out in the old Strixhaven set. And hopefully there'll be some more lesson cards that will come out with the new Strixhaven set that's coming out in 2026. But for the moment, when you look at that and it says during your turn, each lesson card in your graveyard has flashback 1, that's amazing. There are quite a few of the lesson cards that cost quite a lot of mana. So if you've got those cards in your hand, you don't really want to cast them. You might not want to cast them. One might not be able to cast them for their higher mana cost. So what can you do instead? Well, you're in red, and blue kind of counts for this as well. Loot effects, or what I mean by that are cards that allow you to draw cards and discard cards out of your hand, or draw cards and put cards back into your library, or anything like that. The first card that I'm going to mention there's lots of other cards that do this sort of thing, but this particular one also helps with ramping yourself to get Iroh out quicker, and that is Big Score.
Oh, classic. Yeah.
Big Score is red and 3 for an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, discard a card. You draw 2 cards and create 2 treasure tokens. There's another one that's called Windfall. What's it called? Windfall something?
Unexpected Windfall.
Unexpected Windfall. There we go. Thank you. That does literally the same thing.
Pirate's Pillage is also very similar.
Yeah, I think that's a sorcery, and I think that only does 1 treasure. But
yeah, it's not the
same sort of thing.
There's a couple. There was a whole bunch from sort of Ixalan. It was Ixalan and it was Streets of New Capenna, where treasures really became like every card makes a treasure by sneezing. That was the thing. So a lot of those, and building out on the ability to cast out fast is obviously good. Yeah,
playing this sort of thing, playing this sort of card helps you. If you play it on curve on turn 4, you generate yourself 2 mana, play your land for turn. Next turn, you've technically got 7 mana on board, so that gives you the ability to play Iroh on turn 5, and then use his ability to cast 1 or 2 lessons out of your graveyard if you haven't got any other cards on the board that reduce costs and all that sort of stuff, which is something we'll come to a bit later on. But I just think having a loot effect in the deck, a couple of them in the deck to help get those bigger things into the graveyard and refill your hands with things that you might actually be able to play is pretty good.
Yeah, I agree totally. On lessons, this may not be relevant in a couple of months. All the lessons from Strixhaven are sorcery speed. There's a reason for this, and it's really quite complicated. Lessons in Strixhaven had a lot of cards in Strixhaven had the ability to quote unquote learn, it's a keyword, and learn meant go to your sideboard, pick a lesson card from it, and play it. They didn't want people doing that at instant speed, which makes sense because you could put like removal there and then have a thing with flag. It would have made it very, very easy to play instant speed removal at random points from your sideboard, effectively without even putting them in your deck.
Yeah.
Magic Standard has sideboards. Commander does not have sideboards. Most notably, Commander says in the rules says any spell or effect that references a sideboard or cards outside the game doesn't apply.
Yeah.
So lessons from Strixhaven are all sorcery speed. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but flashback doesn't doesn't change the speed at which spells are played. In other words, a sorcery with flashback has to be cast in one of your main phases. An instant can be cast at any point. This is relevant because a lot of old lessons are sorceries. So if you're looking for new instant speed lessons, which you might be because Iroh has firebending too, i.e. you have lots of free mana in your combat phase, where you can only cast instant speed spells because sorceries can only be cast in main phases, it is worth looking at the new Avatar cards more than anything else. What they also did in Avatar, specifically when it comes to lessons, is they took a lot of very classic effects, very classic spells, and remade them as lessons. Shared Roots is a functional reprint of Rampant Growth. And Rampant Growth's been around for 25 years, like a long time. And it's a very classic spell. It's I'll read it out because, if you ever played Magic, you'll recognize this text. Search your library for a basic land card. Put it on the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Boom. It is sorcery speed, this one. But
cost one and a green as well.
Cost one and a green. Point is that this is a very basic green ramp card. It means you're playing a second land on your turn. It comes in tapped, so you can't use it until next turn. Point is it gets you into the game faster and gives you more mana to use on subsequent turns. The fact that Avatar has basically functionally reprinted a lot of very classic spells, like there's a bounce spell, there's a looting spell, I can't remember what they're called, but they are all in the Avatar set. You can find them. They're probably on Iroh's homepage already on EDH Rec. But these effects are what you want to put in your deck over the rampant growth, the boomerangs, the classic versions of said spell. Because those versions, while they will have similar effects in your deck, you will not be able to flash back exactly the same way. If the effect's good enough, and you're like, I want to duplicate that effect, I have more than one version in my deck, sure, double up, why not? But if you're looking between the classic spell or the modern lesson one, take the lesson every time.
Yeah, well, the lesson one, you can't, with Iroh's effect, you cast for one on during your turn. And then if you've got rampant growth in there, and it's it's colorless as well. And then the rampant growth one, you would cast for its mana value of a green and one from the graveyard.
Exactly.
Flashback off. So
yeah. While we're here, again, I'm not going to go into too much detail here because you can find them yourself. The Avatar set has a lot of cards that care about lessons. Strixhaven doesn't. Strixhaven's lesson stuff was really only for the learn keyword, and there were lots of cards that cared about instants and sorceries. Magecraft was the big word from Strixhaven, as far as I recall, but they didn't have like this card cares about lessons whenever a lesson is cast, etc. The Avatar set is full of them, including another version of Iroh that is an absolute pick for this deck. And frankly, if you don't put it in the deck while you're playing it, what are you doing? Uncle Iroh, 1 and a red or a green and a red or a green, so 2 hybrid mana there. Legendary human noble ally has firebending 1. Lesson spells you cast cost 1 generic mana less to cast, i.e. they are free.
They're free from your graveyard. Yeah, they're
free from your graveyard. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Also, this is an Iroh playing cards and looking very genial compared to the Grand Lotus Master looking like a badass. It's probably worth having both.
Yeah, they're both awesome. I think while we're on Uncle Iroh and his ability to reduce the cost of particularly lesson cards, there are a plethora of cards in the 3 colors that we have on Iroh at the moment that allow you to reduce the costs of your instants and sorcery spells. Chris has a couple on their list, and I've got one in particular that I want to speak about, which is Ral, Monsoon Mage. Ral is a legendary creature, human wizard. Instants and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, your turn, flip a coin. If you lose the flip, Ral Monsoon Mage deals 1 damage to you. If you win the flip, you may exile Ral. If you do, return him to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. And he's a 1/3, and he transforms into Ral, Leyline Prodigy. Sorry, that looked like a V. Leyline Prodigy. It looked like a V because the Y is hidden under the lightning strikes that are going everywhere.
Yeah, Planeswalkers and some Eldrazi pop out the screen, pop out the frame of the card a little bit and cover some of their own text.
This one is a Planeswalker with 2 loyalty. He has a static effect that is when he enters the battlefield. Sorry, he enters the battlefield with an additional loyalty counter on him for each instant and sorcery spell you've cast this turn, which, if you have a lot of lessons in your deck, could be quite a lot.
Yeah.
And also, because he's on his first side, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, it is a May effect on when you flip the coin to try and transform him. You can just you can risk it and just cast all of your lesson cards out of your graveyard, say 8 of them, and then flip the coin on the last one to see if you transform him, and then get 8 loyalty counters put on him if you really want to risk it. So he's...
Instants of sorceries cost 1 less to cast, right? So by that principle, if you have him out and Iroh's all sorted, and sorry, my dog's having a play fight, you might hear them in the background. You could just cast all of them because they're all free. So you could just cycle them all out, and I think you'd have to flip off for each one, wouldn't you?
You have to choose. Let me just double check.
Because it only costs 1 generic less to cast while he's on that side. So if you then flip him, but his plus his plus on this side until your next turn. Instant sorcery spells you cast cost 1. You could just plus him. Then you wouldn't get all of the loyalty counters. I see the problem. Oh, I don't know. That's a
big play, but yeah, he's
that's
the thing though.
If you did 8, I suppose if he doesn't flip, who cares? Because if he doesn't flip, all instant sorceries cost 1 less to cast, right?
Yeah.
So even if he doesn't flip, oh no.
If he doesn't flip, you take a damage.
Taking damage.
Only if you fail it though.
That's the thing. Taking 1 damage over potentially getting a planeswalker with 10 loyalty counters that you can literally ult him immediately because he's come from the battlefield. That's totally fine.
Oh yeah, I should read what he does.
His ult is exile the top 8 cards of your library. You may cast instant spells from among them this turn without paying their mana costs.
And that's a -8 ability. Yeah, so you could do that. And then his -2 is he deals damage. He deals 2 damage divided as you choose among 1 or 2 targets. Draw a card if you control a blue permanent other than Ral.
It's just a really good card. It's very complicated. I would say that playing this one, yes, it's fantastic because all your lessons are now free. If there's enough in your graveyard, you'd have to get them in there by casting them first.
Yeah.
But they'll be cheaper to cast because... Yeah, so we should have said earlier, actually. The best way to get spell slingers that care about the graveyard are much easier to get things into the graveyard for than a lot of other decks that care about the graveyard, because instant sorceries, once they've resolved, go to the graveyard.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about, oh, do I mill half my library? Oh, do I... You can. There's nothing stopping you building this into a mill strategy, and I've seen people talking about like cards like Cut Your Losses and stuff being like, well, now my library's got 20 lessons in it and I can cast them all for free. Like, I can see that process, but frankly, if you're using cost reducers because because that way you can cast them all for free from your graveyard, it means they're all very cheap to cast. You can cycle through 5 in a turn, and then next turn cast them all again. So yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about filling your graveyard.
Also, I'd like to point out as well that I hadn't noticed this, but we had a Ral Planeswalker come out in Bloomburrow, and I was very excited for that one. I haven't been able to pick him up, but Ral's one of my favourite Planeswalkers, and regardless of his effects and all of that sort of stuff, he's just one of my favourite characters. And I didn't realise until just looking at his Scryfall page that this one, the Monsoon Mage, came out in Modern Horizons 3. Completely missed it.
Yeah, it's Modern Horizons 3.
I completely missed it.
I will also be remiss not pointing out that Ral is also in a queer relationship and is definitely an otter. So making him an otter in his card is just chef's kiss.
What were some of your cost reducers that you have, Chris, other than Uncle Iroh?
Right. Mine are weirder.
Good.
So, I'm going to pick on... I've got 3, and I'll go through them quickly. So, Helm of Awakening is my favourite, because it's an old card, it's had reprints, it's been around for donkey's years, it costs 2 generic mana, and it just says, it's an artifact, and it just says, spells cost 1 generic less to cast. And it's universal.
Yeah.
Everything you cast, everything your opponents cast, everything, you give the whole table benefit. This is particularly good because it gives you a really obvious benefit that's really, really good, but it gives everyone else that benefit too, and thus they are less likely to remove it.
Yes.
If they can suddenly cast their 7 mana monster for 6, they will strongly consider whether they blow it up or whether they kill you before they get the chance to cast their big spell. I have had games before where someone has said, well, I need to do lethal on you because you're probably going to win next turn. And I go, yeah, but then you can't cast that spell you want to cast. They've gone, that's a good point, and then I've won. They just get scared of losing. The Helm of Awakening is an amazing card, and I thoroughly recommend it, and it's dirt cheap. The other ones, this one is more silly. The Racer's Scorecard is from everyone's favourite set, Ether Drift. It's also an artifact. It's 4 mana. Has Start Your Engines, which introduces the speed mechanic. I'm sorry. When it enters, draw 2 cards and discard a card. You want that in this deck. Some discards
not as
get
bad as 9 Day.
It's close. And then at max speed, spells you cast cost 1 generic less to cast. Start Your Engines. You have no speed. Everyone starts at 0 speed. Whenever you attack someone, whenever an opponent loses life, that's the key. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain a speed every turn. You can't get more than 1 speed a turn, apart from the first turn, because you come in with a 0. Speed's very difficult. Just read up about it if you want to.
As soon as you place Racer's scoreboard down, it's the start your engines means that you change it from 0 to 1 straight away.
But then if an opponent loses life that turn as well, it goes up to 2. But then after that, it can only go up once per turn.
That's
because
quite
magic
slow.
is sometimes stupid.
Yeah.
It is slow, I absolutely agree. However, we'll get to that in a second. Sage of the Beyond, 5 and 2 blue mana. Flying. Spells you cast from anywhere other than your hand cost 2 generic mana less to cast, and it has foretell 5. 4 and a blue. So you can play it for its foretell. You can play it for 2 and then flip it for its foretell cost later, so it's the same cost. Sage is very expensive. Razor Scorecard is very slow. If you have the ability to cast instants and sorceries for free, people are not going to like that. Now, Helm of Awakening and Ral are good examples of like reasons they might let them stick around. Helm of Awakening, obviously, why they might let stick around. Ral, because Ral can flip, and there's problems with targeting different versions of Ral if you flip it in time, etc. So there's a lot of trickery you can use to avoid you losing your favorite thing. However, you will. People will start to recognize that as much as they want to play their thing for less mana, it's actually, they're going to lose the game, and they're going to remove that. If you have multiple effects on the board that do the same thing, point 1, it's really great to have multiple effects on the board because they can't stop you. Point 2, they stack. If you have other instants and sorceries that are not lessons in your graveyard that you want to flash back for free, for free with Iroh. If you want to flash them back, if you're reducing all those generic mana costs by having 4 cost reducers on the board, that's also pretty good. If anything, it just reinforces how good your deck can be. I have a very similar deck to this we'll get onto in a second, where I play a lot of cost reducers just because if I have 1 on the board, people are like, nope. If I have 2, people are like, well, we can get rid of 1 of them, and you'll go, well, cool, that doesn't stop me. So, yes, very worth having multiple versions.
So I'd like to move over to the Avatar set itself, and talk about a card from there, a lesson card to be exact. A lot of the lesson cards that are in the Avatar set are really, really good. There are some that are okay. I haven't found one that's bad as of yet. But
it's bad. I haven't found one that I read and go, nope.
Yeah, I think there's Soccer's Haiku. Haiku, sorry, is quite an expensive card for what it does. I know it does quite a few things, but the counter spell part is the tricky one for me to start with. But
I would say a lot of it's very situational. Like, the thing with spell slinger decks, right, is that you go like, oh, I'll have this toolbox of different spells I can choose. 7 cards in your hand, and you'll play a lot of them. So you'll be running out of cards constantly and just drawing and going, sure. There will come a point with spell slinger where you always run out of ammo, where you have to just take whatever you draw and hope it's going to be useful in that scenario, and it really might not be.
That's the one thing that I don't get on with spell slinger decks, which is why Iroh interests me, because of having the ability to be able to then play those cards again out of the graveyard. I know there's other cards and other commanders that give things flashback in the graveyard and all of that sort of stuff, but it's that one line of text at the bottom, again, with the whole making lessons cost 1, that is just is what has intrigued me with it. Plus I love Iroh. But the card that I'd like to talk about is called True Ancestry. It is a green and 1 sorcery lesson, and it says return up to 1 target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand, and then create a clue token.
Interesting.
Fantastic. I think that's a brilliant card. You get to return any permanent from your graveyard to your hand, and then you can create a clue token, which you can then use to go draw a card.
I suppose it's one of the things you don't think about, but you need to have cards in your deck for when things go wrong, and things will go wrong, and the ability to return that permanent that, reduces all your spell costs, all those things. Yeah. Having access to those, again, is obviously very good. And it being a lesson means you can do it once, and then it sits in your graveyard ready for you to recur it whenever you need it. Yeah.
You can use it as a way to get Iroh back as well, because it costs 1 green and 1. So if Iroh gets taken out, because he probably will, instead of putting him back into the command zone, you can put him into the graveyard and then use this to get him back into your hand.
How are you casting it from your graveyard without Iroh?
No, if this is in your hand is what I mean.
Oh, sorry. If it's in your graveyard and Iroh's in the graveyard, well.
Well, then you're stuck. I mean, it would probably, and I don't know if Chris has got any of these, but I probably should have thought of this as well. It's probably good to have a couple of other cards in your deck that does allow you to cast cards from your graveyard that gives cards in your graveyard flashback, other than just Iroh.
I wouldn't double up that effect. I'll explain why. Most cards that give flashback, like everything now has flashback, do it for like a turn. And if you're stocking your graveyard with things that you want to flash back, it just gives you stronger incentive to recast your commander. And if you've got things on the board that mean that lessons are now free again, all you need to do is pay Iroh's extended cost from the command attacks, and then bang, everything goes again. I wouldn't worry about it too much. And also, like, genuinely, imagine that you've got Iroh on the board, everything's swimming, you draw 2 cards, like, cool, I need some more instants and sorceries to go into my graveyard so I can cycle them out again, and you draw a backdraft Hellkite, which I think is a dragon that lets you do everything with flashback. You're like, cool, this is not useful right now.
Yeah.
Whereas Iroh, because he's your commander. Thing is, people forget this about the commander. Like, command attack sucks, no doubt. It's bad to lose your commander and have to recast them, but your commander is it's the hardest card to get rid of because you can always recast it. Unless someone's using like really bastard effects like Lignify and stuff like that, you can always recast your commander. And even if the cost gets super high, this is a deck where you can ramp. This is a deck where you can play cards and play lessons that ramp you for super cheap. The chance of you having enough mana to recast Iroh is super high, and then the chance of you just being able to do everything that you want the moment he comes down is really, really high. I wouldn't worry about it.
That's fair. What's your next card?
Right. So this is the card I based a lot of my thinking around thinking about Iroh on, because it's a commander I have that works sort of similarly, and it covers a lot of ground in terms of ramping. It covers a lot of ground in terms of what it does. I'll just read it out. It's a bit involved. It's from Strixhaven. Jadzi, Oracle of Arcavios, costs 6 and 2 blue for a 5/5.
Hell yeah, this thing. Yeah.
I know. She's a human wizard. Discard a card, return Jadzi, Oracle of Arcavios to its owner's hand. So you can bounce her back to your hand by just discarding a card, which could be a lesson, I'm just saying. Not a bad starting point. Though frankly, if you cast her for 8, then... she has Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, that's what Magecraft means. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, it's the line turn of phrase. So whenever you do a thing happens. Reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it by paying 1 generic mana rather than paying its mana cost. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield. To be clear, whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it by paying 1 generic mana rather than paying its mana cost. So if it's an instant or sorcery, you do it again.
Yeah.
And again. And again. And if it's a land, you just put it on the battlefield. If you then have another instant or sorcery you can cast, there's that 1 extra mana off that land. Do it again, do it again, do it again. So my deck for this is a storm deck. The idea is you build up to getting Jadzi out, and then what you want to do is get as many instants and sorceries to come off the top. Like, you're hoping for that turn where you play 20 spells, which I have done, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. I've sat here and witnessed it.
I don't play it very often. It
was hilarious. So, but you should also say what the other side does, just in case.
Well, yeah. Also, to be clear, it's very funny when it doesn't work. That's particularly funny. You're like, I built it all up. The first card is not now. Damn it. Nothing happens. So I pass the turn. Anyway, she has a sorcery on her back, which is a 2 green sorcery called Journey to the Oracle. You may put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Then if you control 8 or more lands, you may discard a card. If you do, return Journey to the Oracle to its owner's hand. In it, they needed a way for you to put enough mana on the board to play Jadzi at a sensible turn, which is why she costs 8. And then a way to return the card to your hand so you could recast it as Jadzi, not try and get it out your graveyard, which is very difficult to do. However, if you're not too worried about that, this is an 8 mana thing that has a very similar effect to Iroh, except it doesn't cast from the graveyard, it casts from the top of your library, and your deck is full of instants and sorceries. If you can get her out, if you can get the ball rolling, you can use this to free cast spells because they only cost 1 generic, and anything that reduces spell cost by 1 means that anything cast off the top is free.
Yeah.
Just to be clear. That's how good this is. If you can get that out and get the ball rolling, she's bananas, and she's really good fun. And because your deck cares about instants and sorceries, and because there will be a lot in your graveyard that you can also cast for 1 generic, which could be nothing if you get a cost reducer out, you can cast a spell from your graveyard, a flashback lesson from your graveyard to trigger this, to cast another spell. Because of the way the stack works, they all go on top of each other, so you technically cast the last spell you cast first. It's worth practicing and goldfishing this. Just going to point that out. But yeah, if you can pull this off, it's bananas, and it's such good fun. However, if you look at it and go, in this game, that seems like a bananas thing that's never going to happen. You have a 2 and 2 green mana sorcery that you can use to put any number of lands from your hand onto the battlefield, and that can then go to the graveyard, not be a problem anymore, be gone. Unfortunately, because of the way that these split cards work, it's Jadzi in the graveyard every time. It's not the sorcery, so you can't recast it with Iroh's ability, which is a shame. But if you do have lessons and a lot of lands in your hand, you can just pop out all the lands, get this card back so you can cast Jadzi if you want to. In the meantime, you're discarding a card, which could be a lesson to go into your graveyard so you can trigger Iroh off it. There's a lot of stuff here. I think she's fantastic and I love her as a commander, but also, like, if you're looking for other creatures to put into this deck to try and keep this like idea of churning through spells as often as possible, and I think Iroh is a very easy storm deck. I think that goes without saying, right, Josh?
Oh yeah, 100%, yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's very easy to think about. In fact, speaking about how the stack works with Jadzi, it's probably worth thinking about how the stack works with Iroh too, because there is no reason, if they're all instants, that you couldn't cast a spell and then cast another spell, because they're all for free, and choose the order, so which one goes off first is relevant. It's worth swatting up on the stack and how it functions and which spell goes on top of which, because if you cast an instant in response to an instant, it happens before the other one. It's just worth thinking about.
Yeah, 100%. Right, my next card. I'm sticking with Avatar.
Cool.
This is a disgusting card. It is also a lesson, which makes it even more disgusting in Iroh. This card is called Secret of Bloodbending.
Yeah.
Yeah. It costs 4 blue mana to cast normally. It's a sorcery lesson. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may waterbend 10. Waterbending is you can tap mana or creatures to pay the cost for it. So it's like the Avatar version of Convoke in a way.
Affinity, yeah.
Yeah. You control target opponent during their next combat phase. If this spell's additional cost was paid, the waterbending 10, you control that player during their next turn instead. But then you have to exile Secret of Bloodbending. So
you exile it anyway.
Well, if you cast it from your hand, then it gets exiled. But if you find a way to discard it into the graveyard and then cast it for 1 or for free, if you've got a thing on the board, you still exile it.
Right, yeah. So if you can get it into your graveyard, you probably cast it for free, but it doesn't do the whole turn trick. It only does the during combat trick.
Well, no, because you can still do the waterbend 10, because it's as an additional cost to cast a spell. You may waterbend 10. So you can cast it for free and waterbend 10.
So you've got to have 10 mana floating around.
Or 10 creatures.
Does this deck have 10 creatures? Are you playing 10? I'm not playing 10 creatures in this deck. I'm playing maybe 4.
You can add cards in here like Ironclast, Monk, or whatever it's called, and Young Pyromancer and stuff to generate you tokens when you cast instants and sorceries. That's a valid strategy.
Yeah, you totally could.
The thing that I personally would use this thing is for, because it says you control target opponent. Most control spells that I've seen normally say you control the next person's turn. It doesn't normally give you the option. So the way that I would use this is I don't really mind too much about the waterbend 10, but I would look at who the threat is on the board. I know that person over there with their big zombie creatures is coming at me next turn. So if I control them during their combat, I can swing their stuff at somebody else and not me. Keep myself alive for a turn.
I mean, okay, let's break this down. Point 1. It's obviously a really cool card if you can get it into your graveyard to just point out to everyone it's there.
This is true, yes.
Just so you all know, Secrets of Bloodbending is in the graveyard, so don't fuck with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is sorcery speed, so you can't cast in response to someone, say, exiling your graveyard, so it does unfortunately lose out to that, but it's such a nasty effect, because, just to be clear, you control target opponent during their next combat phase.
Yep.
Or you can pay Waterbend 10 to control them for their entire turn. Because the trick with controlling someone on their turn is there's so many nasty things you can do to them. You can tap mana during their combat phase, can't you? No reason that you can't.
If you control target opponent during their next combat phase, yeah. So you could, as soon as they go into combat, if they haven't tapped all of their lands because they want to do something in their second main, you can just tap all of their lands during the
and let the mana
because you
fizzle.
Control them. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you tap a mana and don't use the mana fizzles, it's gone.
Yeah, and they can't respond to it because that player can't respond to it during combat because you control them.
Yeah, so that's already nasty. Now they can cast everything pre-combat. That's fine, and if this happens to them once, they'll do that. So that's you are interrupting their flow in many ways.
Mm.
Controlling them during the combat step is particularly mean because if they have any creatures they don't attack with, a lot of creatures aren't designed to attack. They're mana dorks, they're tokens that they want to hold back as defenders, whatever. You can not only swing out with their board against things that will kill their board, like if opponents have death touch creatures, that sort of thing. You can also have all their creatures tapped, which means that then on your next turn you can swing in and kill them. They'll have no defenders unless they cast defensive spells on their second main, which they can't because you're controlling that's brilliant. Okay, but if they cast spells during their first main, those creatures can't attack during combat because they're summoning sick.
If they cast creatures, yeah.
If you had a spell, I don't know if there is a lesson or... I mean, there's plenty of instances that say all creatures have haste.
There's a couple... There's a... there is a green... No, there is a red enchantment spell that says all creatures have haste.
There's a green enchantment too. What's it called? The famous one?
The Concordant...
Concordant Crossroads. Yes, Concordant Crossroads.
That's the one, yeah.
Good job.
That gives everything haste, yeah.
They're less good in this spell because it's an enchantment. What you want is like instants, like all creatures get haste and +1/+0 till end of turn or something like that. Like if you had stuff like that, that's really fun because you can make sure that all their creatures get tapped out. Okay, long complicated way of saying there's a lot of complexity here. This is not just this might be quite good. This is if you build around it, if there's like 4 or 5 other cards in your deck that do the right thing to make sure that the person you do this to is fucking dead. It doesn't matter how you do it, but they can just be dead next turn. Like, that's good, especially if they go next to you in the turn cycle, so that the other 2 players have the chance to attack them first as well. Yeah. Like, this is a nasty-ass card. If you can Waterbend 10, that makes it even easier, because you can, like, they can't control themselves during their entire turn. You can sacrifice their creatures if they have sack outlets. You can tap all their mana. You can sacrifice all their treasures and just let it fizzle. Like, it's bad. I will say that chances are if you do this, they'll probably just forfeit the team.
Probably, yeah.
Most control that I've seen happen, someone just goes like, I can't come back from this. Yeah. Oh, that's such a nasty card, George.
It is, but I saw it was a lesson, and I'm like, yeah, I've got to talk about it.
Also, bloodbending is a big part of the Avatar world. Like, this idea of like controlling someone using their blood, waterbending their blood is part of the show. They had to have a card that did it. They've done everything in their power to make it not grotesque. It exiles itself. It costs 14 mana plus tapping some creatures if you do want to control them for their entire turn. That's a lot to ask too.
Yeah.
But you have ways of reducing that, and also even just controlling the combat step is nasty. What a good find. Don't play this with your friends. All right, play it with your friends once, and then put the card away and never play it again.
What's your next card, Chris?
Right. I'm thinking about which one to talk about. Basically, I've got a couple of cards here that all do the same thing, so I'm going to sort of condense them into one.
That's fair.
Magecraft, a thing we talked about from Strixhaven.
Mm-hmm.
These cards are very good for this deck. They're mostly not instants and sorceries. They're mostly creatures, because Magecraft just says whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery effect. So, for example, a Dragon's Guard Elite, it's 1 and a green. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 counter on Dragon's Guard Elite. And then it has a 4 green activated ability, double the number of 1/1 counters on Dragon's Guard Elite.
That's pretty good.
It doesn't have any keywords. Like, it's just huge. However, you are playing in colors where green spells that give trample, green spells that give keywords and things like that are easy to come by. I was thinking, because it's very, very easy to see how this deck pops off. You make all the spells free, you cast all the spells forever, but then how do you win? You know?
I have a win con as my last card.
Okay, because this is one of my first thoughts, was like, just pop this down, make it huge, and then you've probably got a bunch of combat tricks that will make it like swing in for huge amounts of damage as well, or attack everyone, or God knows what else. There's also cards like Quandrix Apprentice is one that I've used before in Magecraft decks. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a land card from among them, put a card into your hand, put the rest of the bottom line random order. That's a good way to fill your library, fill your hand with lands if you want to as well, which is also great with Jadzi. It's in my Jadzi deck. Deeker, Fractal Theorist, 4 and a blue, also from Strixhaven, also Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token, put X 1/1 counters on it, where X is that spell's mana value. Because the spells the lessons you cast from the graveyard, they cost 1 generic or nothing, but their mana value is still the printed number in the top, so you can make a board full of little tokeny things that would go through. The important thing is cast or copy. I've not talked about any here, but there's spells like Twinferno's one that I just had looking at recently for a different thing. That is a spell that just says whenever you cast an X instant or sorcery, copy it. There's a lot of spells like that that are very good in spells thing effects. You just duplicate and copy and replicate effects. They all work with Magecraft. So any Magecraft thing says when you cast or copy. In other words, you'd get the effect twice. Yep. So it is worth looking at all of those things interacting with each other, and especially looking at how you use them to win the game. Because at the moment, winning the game with this deck is currently, it's all value, but where's the punch? Yep. Josh, what's your punch?
My punch is a card that I absolutely love and have been wanting to get to work, but I don't really play Spellslinger decks. It is in my current Spellslinger deck, which is a Bria deck. Bria is also another great card in this deck, because it gives all of your creatures prowess and trample and all that sort of stuff. So that can be another way to get big swings out. So honourable mention for Bria there. This one came out in Tarkia Dragonstorm, came in the Jeskai Precon. I can't remember what it was called, but it's the one with Elsha as the Elsha Threefold Master as the backup commander.
Oh, Shiko and Narset was the face and Elsha was the backup.
I just can't remember what it's a Jeskai something. Anyway, this is Caldera Pyamore.
Oh God.
Oh yes.
God.
This is a 2 red and 3 creature dragon. It's a 3/3 with flying. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a 1/1 counter on this creature, then this creature deals damage equal to its power to target opponent. This is your game ender. You've got all your lessons in the graveyard. You've got other cards in the graveyard as well. You can cast your lessons for free, leaving your mana open to cast other instants and sorceries you have in the graveyard for their original mana value for flashback. You have this on the board.
Okay.
Game over.
It might look on. A thing is, okay, you might be looking at that going, why are you both so excited? This looks unassuming. It's stacking exponential damage because the Caldera Pyamore comes in as a 3/3.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, put a counter on it, do that much damage. So if you cast 1 spell, instant or sorcery, you do 4 damage to someone.
Yep.
If you cast 2 spells, you do 5 damage. That's 9 total. If you cast 3 spells, if you cast 3 spells, you do 6 damage. That's 15 total. You can see how this builds up real fast, especially if you're casting a ton of instant sorceries for free.
And it also says as well, then this creature deals damage equal to its power to target opponent. There are plenty in green, particularly of cards that allow you to increase. Like I mentioned before, there is a sorcery that increases your creature's power by 10/10 till end of turn. You could do that on this and then just deal 14 damage to somebody if that's the first card that you cast.
There's also plenty of green sorceries and instants that double the number of counters on target creature.
Yeah, so such a good game-ending card.
It makes the one I'm about to recommend look really piddling. So Fuming Effigies, 3 and a red. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, it deals 1 damage to each opponent.
Now pair both of them together.
Yeah, sure. It's not as... Okay, Fuming Effigy, you have to target the opponent, right? It's not each opponent.
Fuming Effigy deals damage.
No, Fuming Effigies each. Caldera Pyramore is target one opponent, right?
Yeah, target it's a single opponent, yeah.
Cool. That is more relevant than you think, because if you have generic burning everyone at the table for a little bit, that works really, really well because people don't realize how fucked they are. Because you'll play it. It's a 3 and a red spirit. It's a 4/3, so it's quite a good blocker too. And he just sits there on the board and you go, cool, everyone takes 1, everyone takes 1, everyone takes 1, everyone goes, that's annoying. And then you go, cool, I'm now going to cast 15 spells. You're all going to take 15 damage. Everyone goes, wait, what? What? Wait, what? Wait, because suddenly it goes from being I took 3, whereas if you get off a full storming turn, yeah, it's nasty. And then if you've got the Pyamore on top of that, burning out people faster, yeah, I see it.
Such a good, yeah. I'm looking forward to, because as I said before, I've got a Bria deck, but I didn't really like how it played. So my plan is to take my Bria deck and make it into my Iroh deck.
Well, let's spend the last couple of minutes of this talking about Spellslinger, because we've sort of alluded to it a little bit at various points throughout the video, but I think it's worth pointing out in specific. It's one of the big archetypes, Spellslinger, and a lot of people really like it. And it's evident why. The whole point of the deck is to cast as many spells as possible. They're all instants and sorceries, so they go into your graveyard. If you have graveyard recursion, you can cycle them all back. That's obviously good. Yeah. It has problems, and the problems are basically quite obvious. You will not have much of a board state. If someone's got a wide board of like 10 1/1s, well, they do, and there's not much you can do about it. You're going to take damage. You're going to take a lot of combat damage because the moment you start being big and threatening, you're not actually that big. All of the effects you have are big, but you have nothing to back it up. You are a glass cannon. Yeah. And that's really important to know, because even if you play creatures that say like, oh, whenever you cast a spell, make a token, stuff like that, and there's plenty of those. Like, there's plenty of ways to make like wide board states out of this. It's actually not to your benefit to do it, because most of your instants and sorceries don't like affect what you could build this as. I play a ton of creatures that make tokens whenever I cast or copy instants or sorceries, and there's plenty of cards that do that. There's no reason that you wouldn't. And then a bunch of instants and sorceries that are like overruns in green, or haste and +1/+0 to everything until end of turn in red. These spells exist. Give everything flying. These things exist in blue. Like you could make a very wide tokeny sort of board out of it. But that's not really what you're good at. It's not really what the deck's designed to do. It's kind of shoehorning a go wide strategy into Spellslinger, because Spellslinger is really designed, and a lot of the cards are designed to basically be, I'm just going to throw a ton of spells around. And what that tends to lead to is packing a lot of counter spells, packing a lot of red burn spells, packing a lot of bounce, removal, because that way you can make sure that you survive, which means that playing against a red-blue deck tends to turn into either they're burning me out for tons of damage, they're killing everything on my board really, really quickly so I don't get to do anything, or they're countering every spell I cast. Yeah. You need to find your way into Spellslinger in a way that suits you. That description right there is why I don't tend to have many Spellslinger decks, because it's just what it turns into is that you are the villain, you are the problem. Like, I have a red-blue deck based around the Emperor of Palamecia, who is a villain from Final Fantasy, and it is a villain deck. It is meant to be nasty, difficult, and do huge amounts of damage very suddenly, because the Emperor has that ability on his backside. but I'd be very cautious of being like, this is a casual red-blue deck. This is a casual Spellslinger deck. They don't really exist. Like, it's not really a thing. I've never seen one that's been like, oh, it's just casual red-blue. Oh, that's all right then.
There is one thing that we haven't mentioned in this whole video. We mentioned it briefly at the beginning, and it's that Iroh makes a fantastic Storm commander.
Yeah. I mean, my Jazzy deck's built around Storm for exactly that reason, is that Spellslinger often leads into Storm.
Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know what Storm is when you cast this spell, there are spells that have Storm on them. So when you cast this spell, copy it for each spell cast before it this turn. And there are a lot of incredibly good Storm cards that work really well in Iroh. I just want to give a couple of examples before we finish.
No.
One of them is Crackling Spellslinger.
Yeah.
2 red and 3 for a 2/2 human wizard with flash. When Crackling Spellslinger enters the battlefield, if you cast it, the next instant or sorcery you cast this turn has Storm.
Yep.
Fantastic. And there's loads of others. Another one that is particularly deadly is Grape Shot. Red and 1. Grape Shot deals 1 damage to any target, and it has Storm.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Those are the nice ones. They're a bounce.
Oh no,
spell.
I pulled up some nasty ones. I've pulled out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards in total. Just quickly going through all the Storm cards that are in Iroh's colours. That's not all of the Storm cards. They're just the ones that I looked at and went, that's mean.
There's some true filth in there. The kind of thing you look at and go, well, no one's going to want to play with you anymore.
Exactly. I won't go over all of them, but look up Storm if you want to make this deck, because that is also a good way to add key pieces into your deck. Like there's one that destroys lands.
Yeah. Okay. This is what I was saying. Like, Spellslinger, it lends itself so easily to the most assholish playstyle you can imagine. So it is worth thinking about how you want to play a Spellslinger deck. Like, the one I described, the Jadzi one that I own, because it's green and blue, there's no red in it. A huge amount of it is ramp. I'm just sat in the corner building up to ridiculous amounts of mana so I can cast my commander and then get off the effect. But what tends to happen is that I will get the commander up, get the effect off, and I do a huge amount of stuff, but it does nothing to the table. Yeah. Like, I've got a huge amount of things then. I'm like, oh, my hand's full of cards, and I've got any number of lands on the board, and I've done a crazy number of things. Pass. Because, like, if I do hit the Storm card that says return a non-land permanent to its owner's hand for each spell you cast this turn, because that's what it does, then I'm wiping everyone's boards, but I'm not, like, playing huge kill effects because I don't really want to.
Yeah.
I will say that is also a deck where I will have that kind of turn, and either I win because I've just managed to get enough creatures out that I can just start attacking people, or people go, well, I don't know how you expect me to come back from this. And that's an entirely fair response to a Storm deck. So it's worth considering what you want to do and how you want to do it. And also, if you're going to do it, how you want that to turn into a board state. Like, I love talking about turn it into tokens and that sort of thing, but please be aware then that you're not really doing the purest Spellslinger thing.
Yeah.
It's worth considering how you want your Spellslinger to turn into a deck you actually enjoy. That's what I am trying to say.
Right. But yes.
Is it worth mentioning that I have a Gearson Starn deck, which every time it does 1 ping damage, it turns into 3 ping damage, and the entire deck is just
stop talking about it.
Yeah, this instant sorcery does 1 damage to target creature. Now it's 3, and I play 4 of them, and everyone goes, "Stop now, please stop."
I think the thing that made me not want to play that deck anymore was, other than the fact that you kept destroying my creatures as soon as they came on the board.
Yeah.
There was one card that you played. This I can't remember. I think it's Pack Tactics or something. It's got a wolf on the front on the artwork for it. Costs 1 red mana to cost, and it deals 1 damage to each creature target opponent controls, and Gearson just dealt 3 to each. I don't want to play anymore.
This is the thing. This is what Spellslinger turns into, I find. Like, sure, if you're playing with a group of people who are playing a bit more cutthroat, that's fine. People play Spellslinger. It is very hard to play casually. It's very hard to be like, here's my cool, fun, casual Spellslinger deck. You wait, what? How?
Anyway, I think that's enough for today's episode. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. We have been Rolled Together RPG. If you like what you see, we do D&D content on Twitch on Mondays from 6 p.m. UK time. We also do other streams on Twitch throughout the week. To join our Discord, which is linked down below. Follow our socials, again, linked down below, to find out what we do, when we do, and how we do it. Massive thank you to the D20 Club Dice Heads and Other Tiers on Patreon. They are fantastic. They are the best. You can join them from as little as one of your local currency per month, or one goat, which must be sent to Roll Together HQ for various different reasons, by following all of the links down below. Please do like this video, comment down below with your suggestions on cards for Iroh, as whether they be Spellslinger, or if you would take it into a more of a tokeny based sort of direction. What would you do with Iroh? Let us know in the comments down below.
And defend Spellslinger. In the comments, defend Spellslinger.
Defend it. And we will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.